Hello and welcome to Hugh's Reviews, the place for movie views and spoiler clues. Well, I finally finished watching Loki and it was okay. I just had one question. Who was Tom Hiddleston playing? Remember Loki from the Avengers 2012? The bombastic megalomaniac who presented himself with flair, loved attention and didn't care how he got it, who would just as soon stab you as monologue about his own greatness? The man who saw others as disposable means to an end, who trusted no one and expected not to be trusted in return. Now, how about instead of that guy, we spend 6 hours with some dude who has a similar yet different power set and spends most of his time trying to bang his interdimensional sister?
Not a great plan.
Loki became one of the most interesting and deeply layered villains in the MCU, changing and growing as he suffered defeat after heartbreaking defeat, but always retaining his core. Even when he was being heroic, he still did it with self-aggrandizement firmly in mind, reveling in the chance to be the hero and the flashy show it entailed. After losing his father, his mother, and his entire homeworld, he was a humbled man, but still the trickster, doing the unexpected with panache, and though he had reconciled with his brother and taken an honest evaluation of self, realizing he was unfit to rule, you knew the God of Mischief was still just that, and the only question was what kind of shenanigans he'd get into if not the world-conquering kind. Geez, even with his dying breath, he managed to twist the verbal knife, attempting one last betrayal, but this time for a noble cause. Well, Loki the TV show says screw that noise and jumps straight from 2012 Wicked and Loving It Loki to bargain basement post-Ragnarok Loki with a few easy steps. I see what they were going for, seeing your own death and your broken body tossed aside like garbage, knowing all your schemes were meaningless would humble any man, even the God of Mischief. But the character that came out of that experience wasn't even remotely recognizable as Loki.
Who am I? What am I?
The thing you can count on with Loki is he's always looking for the angle, never accepting a displeasing reality even when it blasts him in the face, and trying to cheat and worm his way out of any situation, no matter how obviously hopeless. It's part of why we love the guy, though we'd never turn our back on him. Not this guy. This guy goes straight from 2012, I will rule the world, Loki, to cowed, bland dipweed after a few setbacks and revelations that 2012 Loki would have scoffed at as base trickery. Even when he's let off his leash, he never attempts escape or betrayal, and worse yet, never even changes his clothes. Come on! The guy loves flashy clothes more than 1970s Elton John, and he's fine with looking like he works for parcel delivery for all eternity? Not buying it! Sylvie and Loki are different versions of the same person, right? So at the very least, Loki getting it on with her would be a weird form of cross-dimensional masturbation, and I don't even want to imagine the kink an Asgardian God of Mischief would be into. But even being from different dimensions, they were born of the same parents and share the same basic DNA. That means Loki spends most of the show falling in love with, singing love songs to, and trying to nail his twin sister. My biggest problem with this version of Loki was that this is supposed to be Loki from the Battle of New York. A devious, self-absorbed, wicked creature with grandiose flash. The man who would kill as soon as look at you. The guy who threatened to murder an old man for not bowing before him. He's not Loki post-Ragnarok. He hasn't earned the lessons or had the experiences that turned him into a borderline hero. And even after those experiences, he still retained his core, his flash, playing games within games, lies within lies. This guy didn't retain that core. He's just a bland, boring, beige and brown plank of wood played by the same actor. I know people love the character, and there's a tendency to not want folks to recall that he is indeed a villain, but they took one of the most intriguing bad guy anti-heroes in the entire MCU and turned him into generic hero man. He's honorable, he's warm, he thinks of others before himself. They lay the generic pretense of mischief on top of a bland good guy and constantly tell the audience he's tricky without actually making him a trickster.
Yeah, I don't see anything very mischievous about this.
He didn't even use his powers to that effect most of the time, and instead had powers we never saw before, like being able to shoot energy bolts from his hands? Professor X-level telekinesis? And why did the kid Loki give him a sword? Can't he just conjure those things himself? I think the writers just wanted to keep the goodwill they had earned from the villain-to-hero journey from the movies. But they forgot that's not this guy. This is New York Loki, and we should see that reflected in the character. But we don't. That was my biggest problem. Character core is just a biggie for me, and there's nothing here that resembles the core of the gleeful God of Mischief we've come to know and love. But what are your thoughts on Loki? Was it good? Bad? Am I totally off base here? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more of these deconstructions and desecrations of the shiny baubles Hollywood glorps into our brains, let me know in the comments below, subscribe, and as always, happy viewing.